ואני מקווה שזה גם כן יעבוד. כן, עכשיו זה התחיל להקליט. אז אם יש לכם שאלות, בגלל שאנחנו לא הרבה אנשים, אין בעיה. אתם יכולים להפסיק ולשאול שאלות, או פשוט מאוד להשתמש בצ'אט כדי לשאול שאלה, ואנחנו ניתן מענה לשאלות בסוף. ואם אתם רוצים את השקפים, אז תצרו קשר או איתי או עם דניאל סיגל. אני חושב שרובכם מכירים אותנו, אנחנו קיימים משנת 94, למעלה מ-250 פרויקטים, 3,500 משתתפים בתחום הביטחוני, finance, health, עם דגש מאוד חזק על הנדסת תוכנה והנדסת מערכת ותמיכה בשנים האחרונים גם כן בסרטיפיקציה של DO 178. ועם זה בעצם אני רוצה להעביר את השרביט לדניאל סיגל. דניאל סיגל from LieberLiber in Austria is going to take over as soon as he returns to his place. And Daniel,
yes,
it's your platform.
Okay, awesome. So welcome everybody. I'm Daniel Siegel. I'm based close to Vienna, Austria, but my market is the whole world. It just happens to be that I sit in Austria at the moment. We are a small Austrian software company. Our main base is in Vienna, but we also have a branch in the US because we are doing pretty well in the American market as well. So we need to have some branch and bank account and stuff in the US. This is some of our global customers. I left the defense guys mostly out because this is a bit more difficult typically, but you can see it's a wide array of companies, aviation, space, healthcare, advanced machines like Hilti or Steel, automotive OEM like Volkswagen, and automotive suppliers like Bosch, Magna, or for example with an Israeli Focus Mobileye is also one of our customers. So we have a wide array of customers. Generally speaking, LemonTree is used by more than 200 organizations in more than 40 countries around the world. So we have customers from Japan to California basically. And what we care about, what is important for us, is this model collaboration. As you can see, in the old days with the clay model, it was pretty simple. Everybody would walk to the table and do his modifications and his change discussions on the clay model on the table. With today's models, it's obviously a little bit more complex, and that's why you create models. And typically when you start out, you have one model, very simple. But then somebody wants a copy, in this case the IT needs a copy. Okay, so you have two models. And then you start to do a variation for somebody else, and they also want a copy. You have four models, and on and on and on. And this is now just one modeler, but imagine you have multiple people working on the model. You will end up with a lot of copies of the model. In the enterprise architect world, very often, because the tooling didn't support other options, the solution was to have one model, one repository. But this is very tricky because it's very hard to have a history in it, or to access the history, or for example do a hotfix on a previous release. It's all a bit cumbersome and not so easy to achieve. At the end of the day, you will end up doing copies of the model again. So generally for people building cyber physical systems, this is typically not a solution. We know of customers doing things like enterprise architecture. They are fine with a single model. But for real engineering projects in safety critical areas, this is typically not an easy solution to go with a single model. Despite it sounds so easy and convenient, but when you think it through, it's really not that easy. Because our models tend to be complex, and when we start to copy stuff to have a second version in the same model, you break the model basically. It's destroyed. So we need a better way to handle real-world models. And if you, as we are all engineers and we sometimes also have to do what the requirements said, I had some time in a plane and wrote down some simple requirements, but I'm not a requirements engineer, what I want a model collaboration solution to be able to cover. It should work with models. I think this is pretty simple. It should be easy to release models. That's already something that is a bit cumbersome with a central repository. What I mean with release models is if we release the product, we have to create something like a baseline. We want to share this baseline with other people, but still need to continue to work on the existing model. And something that happened to me more than once in the past is that there was phone call going on around lunchtime. Please don't change the model anymore. We want to create a baseline EOB. And this honestly is not how you want to work in 2022. Another requirement is it shall be possible to view and modify past versions of the model. That's possible with baselines to some extent, but only on a base level, because you can never compare two historic versions without extra effort. You don't know if the baseline you created was created with the correct version of the profile, MDG version, and so on. It shall be possible to evaluate alternative scenarios. I think this is one of the key things why I do modeling. So I have the capabilities to play around, experiment with alternative solutions, compare them. Another thing that is really very important for me is that if I bring in new people on board, I want them to be able to play around, to have a sandbox, to experiment, and then I can mentor them, I can support them, and I have a better chance not to lose them in the integration. Stakeholders shall only be able to access a proper state of the model, like a baseline. And I think this is also important. If you only have one model in a central repository, the stakeholders, if you have the stakeholders accessing them, they will see whatever you are just working on. You know, they will see the current state of the work, but never a version you really want them to review, unless you do the phone call and tell everybody to stop modeling because the boss wants to review the model. So what I do need is a robot to help me manage all these models that we had before, you know. This, we somehow need to automate it. And and engineers generally have robots. I'm not sure who has a software engineering background, but I guess a lot. And yeah, in 1972, source control systems have been invented to be able to automate things, to have a standard how you manage versions and so on. And today you use tools like PowerShell or GitHub to further take things down the road, you know, and this is exactly what we can enable also for your enterprise architect models. So most of the examples we show and we discuss are based on Git, but our ideas, our tools also work with other version control systems. So we have clients using RTC from IBM, we have clients using PTC Lifecycle Manager, we have clients using Subversion, but most of the things we explain are always Git because it's the more common. A typical workflow now with our tooling is that you work with something called feature branches, okay? So the dark gray line is my develop or trunk. And whenever I have to change the model, I create a feature branch, do several commits. When it's ready, I can either do a peer review here or decide my own, and then it's moved back into the trunk, into the develop branch. And this is a very good process that allows you, for example, the sandboxing for new users, or if you try alternative scenarios, you just try it out in a branch, and if you do not like the result, you cancel the branch. And this is the type of ways of working that we enable with our ideas and our tooling for enterprise architect models. And so why do we need fancy modeling with Git model compare tools and so on? Because for sure some of you have tried to version control on package level using XMI, and it's virtually impossible to merge XMI files with text-based diff and merge tools. In this case, it's WinMerge, and it's really, really super hard or impossible. But on the other hand, everybody's saying agile these days, and in order to be remotely agile, you have to have the capability to work with optimistic version control systems like Git, and this leads to conflicts on model level, and these conflicts need to be solvable or resolvable, and this is exactly what LemonTree can do for you. The social benefits, I think we already discussed the new engineer one. Another one is this easy to revert changes, which can also be cumbersome with the central repository if you need to revert some of the changes because you made a mistake or found out that your solution doesn't work. And because you don't need to copy subtrees, the model in the trunk is closer to this digital twin vision. When I release a model to this release branch, I make sure the model is really equal to the product. And this is, I think, a key capability that you get when you work this way, that you can make sure that your model is closer to what you really ship. This is the user interface. I think we will not go into detail. I will show you live later on. And yeah, let's do some demo.
Yes. Question? Is the model the smallest unit of version control? Or you can run version control on a package or even use case or class or attribute?
Now, the model generally is the smallest unit of version control. But for more complex scenarios, we have some solutions where we can split models to have different life cycles. If you have something like a component, we can do that as well. But generally speaking, the model is the smallest possible unit.
The concept of enterprise architect is that the package is the smallest unit of version control.
Yes, and
so
it has a lot.
This concept?
We do not believe in this concept. It has lots of disadvantages, and everybody who used it at industrial scale will have lost information in the past, because you lose connections between packages if people are not careful. And I think this is not what you really want for safety critical projects. You want a dependable solution that works and not the constant fear to lose data.
The issue if you manage only individual packages is that dependencies between packages are not managed as well, and for that LemonTree provides a full-scale solution so that you are not losing any information if elements in a diagram in a package exist in another package, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So our the most simple or the standard deployment scenario for LemonTree is that people check in the full EA model, in this case like the demo model. And the first thing that is really cool, I can select any two, I can select any two commits and double click on the model, and I will have a diff of two historic versions of the model. Something that is really complex if you want to do it with XMI, but super helpful if you need to find out what your colleagues changed in the week before. You know, this is really key capabilities that help people mastering today's engineering challenges. And it takes a while, sorry. The team sometimes makes my computer a bit slow. 1 second. So here it is. So it's loading. Something is strange on my computer. This doesn't take so long. And now I can immediately see, okay, two diagrams have been modified. And I can see here, okay, two elements are new, the green ones, the orange ones have been altered. I can see all the details of the changes and so on. And in this case, there is even some text change with a rich text. And in the top view, I can see, okay, these blocks have been deleted and so on. And this gives you a really good understanding of what's going on with your model.
And by the way, this diff and compare and merge works also on linked documents if you choose to use such linked documents for extended textual descriptions, such as for use cases, etc.
Yes, exactly. This is something we built because of some feedback of Danny. So, and this is my preferred Git client, Smart Git, but you can use basically any Git client. What you can see, what I show you next is how the integration works. It's really pretty straightforward. You have simply LemonTree configured as diff tool for EAPX, QEA, QEAX, and you have it also configured as the conflict solver for these models. Before this meeting, I created a branch, the demo feature branch, which is hosted on GitHub. So the example I'm showing you is directly connected to GitHub. I have not yet pushed it, but you will see it in a second. So what I do next is I go into Enterprise Architect, open the model, and now I'm working in my own shelf copy. I can do anything here and it will not disturb anybody else. And we also have a LemonTree add-in with a simplified Git client. So if you have engineers that don't want to use Git, basically there is the simple commands in here. For example, I can see which branch I'm currently working on, or I can switch a branch. And so this is really helpful. And we will now do some changes. Rich text to show you the rich text capabilities, and we will also delete something like this block 5, or maybe rename the block 5 link. Block 5 is renamed. We do some renaming on this one and maybe delete block 8. So just some random changes, and this will now go into the and once I'm done, I hit basically save, and I say, in this case now I don't use the full size Git client, but I use the simple Git client, commit and push, and I can type in a commit message. And now the job is done. We committed model changes to a feature branch. Okay. And what typically you can do next is you have either, if you use GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, you can create something like a pull request or merge request. Or if you don't use something like that, you can simply finish your feature branch in the local Git client. I will show you now how this looks in GitHub, because I think it's interesting. You can see our branch is here, the demo branch, and I can create a pull request for it. And in this example, I'm doing something on top of the standard LemonTree deployment. I have checks running in the pull request that will check if there is conflicts when I merge my model back into the develop branch or main branch, and I will check for SysML errors and so on. So I'm really doing this DevOps thing to run checks, to help people keep to the rules automatically. That's why I use GitHub here, because GitHub has an integrated continuous integration solution. So it's the most simple way of doing it for these demos. But we have customers using Jenkins, we have customers using TeamCity, so it really doesn't matter. And you can already see there is a red cross, so obviously some checks didn't work out. And we can see here, okay, there is a SysML validation problem. So obviously some of the things we did to the SysML changes do not conform with the standard. And I can go to the details and check it out. Okay, there is some simple problem with the download, but anyway, this is how this can be done. And we have to wait for this one to finish, because this is also very cool. We create automatically a diff on the build environment that tells me there will be a conflict in the model when I merge back. And I can now click on this link in the pull request, and again LemonTree will open up, and it will show me what's gonna be the conflict I'm facing. And you can see here, okay, I renamed block 5, but the others deleted it. Both of us renamed block 7, and there were some changes in this text field, which you can also clearly see. The green area is where the conflict appears. And this is exactly the type of information that you can see already. Okay, there will be a conflict when I merge back. And now we go back to the classical way of resolving this conflict with the Git client. I have typically, you would call rebase. In my case, this Git client has an automated version. It's called integrate. And this integrate now will do a rebase, and we have now the model in a conflicting state. I double click it, LemonTree will start, and we will have a graphical overview, and we'll be able to resolve the conflict. If we didn't have a real conflict is what we did now, that we worked on the same elements, the UI would not show up. LemonTree would automatically resolve the conflict, and we would be done. But in this case, as you've seen, we have a real conflict, and interestingly, there is no merge view. Here's the merge view, and so now we can decide what we want to do. For example, in this case, we have this text, some new rich text. Okay, so I can go here and combine it simply by copying also the other text here, or write some more text, some more text, and I'm done. And we can also look at the diagram. and you can see, okay, this block 8, I want to have it, so I can select it here and bring it into the model, and the block 8 will also be graphically present on the merge diagram. And once we're done, we click Start Merge, and we will basically be done with the merging of the model, and I can continue with the solution. And this is exactly how this works, and how you then can finish the branch, and the changes are then moved into the solution. Okay.
A few more questions.
Yes.
First of all, do you support version 16?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And do you support all type of UML, XML, whatever elements?
Yes.
Such as stereotypes and
Yes.
changes in MDG and all
Yes.
those?
We even support custom shape scripts in MDG.
Okay.
But because of our strategy, how we version, our recommendation is to host the MDG in the model.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So the MDG always fits to the model, because this is one of our key advantages that it does. And now we can say squash and merge, and our changes are basically merged back into the main branch, and we are done modifying the model. Okay.
Even you are changing also the MDG.
We are not touching the MDG.
But if the problem is within the MDG,
we will inform the user.
Going back.
We will inform the user if the problem is the MDG, and they can decide which MDG to use.
I didn't understand the answer.
Yeah. You will see that the MDG was changed in both models, but typically this is not the case, because the MDG is only changed in one model, and then it will work out fine. Okay.
Okay.
So and we are constantly improving our MDG handling generally. Okay. So this was it for the demo. So I showed you how it can work with GitHub. I showed you some stuff with LemonTree, and now what we will look at is what I had here, what I used. So I have a local Git client, LemonTree, local EA file, QEA, EA16 or EA15 file. I move it into Git, and then I had a build server doing some automation, but this is optional. You don't need to do that, It's just because it's advanced, and some of our customers do it. That's why I show it, but it's not required. And then you can even publish to a Pro Cloud server or to a ProLaborate or WebEA to be able to show the changes of the model to a wider audience or to model consumers. So this is also something that we do more and more, that whenever people merge into develop, the model gets automatically published to a Pro Cloud server. This is becoming rather common at the moment. So DevOps, isn't it? For me, it is DevOps, because we combine these strategies from software to make it work with Enterprise Architect. And there is one additional, a third capability. So we looked at two capabilities of LemonTree 3.3 so far. The first one was the diff and merge tool. The second one is the automation that can run on a continuous integration server that created this file, this review session file. And now we have a short look at the reusable model components. We will not go into detail today, because experience tells me it's too much. If you want to learn more about this, we are very happy to do one-to-one meetings and discuss the capabilities of this for your scenarios. So the LemonTree components is basically a strategy to make a model library for platform and product line development, because we see more and more customers that fail with 150% models. This is more like a component strategy, close to Maven or NuGet from software. So you define components that can be used in your product lines, and then you can move changes back to the platform, and again also update your product lines from the platform in a granular component style way. For example, you can have an airspeed sensor, and this airspeed sensor component can be transferred across the platform or the product lines, and in one product line you can have a specialization of the airspeed sensor that is not that has been derived from the platform, or a completely different one. And how we do this is we take big models, extract components, put them on a Nexus or Artifactory storage, and people then can reuse these model components in their models that they manage in Git. Okay. So LemonTree 3.3 has 3 pillars, 3 capabilities. In the standard product, we have the 3-way diff and merge and branches for models. Also in the standard product, we have the reusable model components. As an add-on, we have the LemonTree automation to run on Jenkins, GitHub, TeamCity, this headless version. And generally, we are able to allow you to do true agile processes for your modeling. And yeah, that's what we do for a living. And generally, the conclusion is that we give you access to established workflows from SE for modeling. We can do agile team collaboration, cross-team collaboration based on model components. For example, you can also ship a model component to a supplier. They can enrich it, give it back to you. You can reintegrate it, and you always have a consistent development state due to the precise versioning, and very good triggers for peer reviews, and publish and release consistent models to stakeholders. I think we also discussed that we can have automated or manual publishing to ProCloud Server or central databases to make the model accessible for stakeholders. Yeah, and XMI is dead is my hashtag, and thank you for listening, and I'm very happy to take questions.
Another one. What is the list price? What is the list price of LemonTree?
No problem. Go on.
What is the list price? What is the price of the product?
The list price, yes, I have it here in front of me. List price is for yearly subscription. It comes on a subscription-based yearly subscriptions of 780 euros for the desktop version, and for the floating version, it's 2,250 euros.
Yeah, and
as a yearly subscription.
And typically floating is good for 3 to 5 users.
Okay.
If you are losing the EA integration, you might need more floating licenses per user. I have a question for you, Daniel, regarding the automation of rule checks. Can you customize the rule checks?
Yes, there is several options. One is we have an open source rule checker where you can integrate your own SQL. It's also on GitHub. You can simply use it and extend it. And if you create me pull requests, I will be more than happy to integrate it. It's in this pipeline repository. This is a simple this is a simple SQL-based rule check, this tools model check, and it's open source. You can fork it, you can send me pull requests, and I will merge it back. So this is a community project, and we also have this Inc Query Labs integration, which is a commercial model validation suite that is used by companies like Jet Propulsion Laboratory or Apple. So this is very powerful, and your imagination is the limit. So this is the homegrown solution, but if you want an enterprise scale solution, we have this integration with in Query Labs.
I wanted to relate. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to relate to what Eran asked about what's the unit of version control. I was also wondering about this issue, and there is the possibility of comparing just a cat package. So I could take a package and compare it to another package and do a diff and merge on a package level.
The merge.
Even though the philosophy of LieberLiber is that the model is the unit, and I understand that philosophy. But if you're interested on using only a package level as your unit of diff and merge, or to control it, there is that possibility.
Yes, but you have to be aware of the possible side effects when you have relationships going outside of your package unit. You're on your own for that. It's possible, but you know, I know a few people that I know what they are doing, but I cannot recommend this in a public. If you know what I mean.
Yes, thank you.
If you know what you're doing, and don't blame us, you know, our biggest problem as a product company is we always have to recommend stuff that makes sense and we know is safe to use. Because if people build crazy workarounds and then blame our tool for not doing its job, it's the worst case for us.
Correct.
Any more questions from anybody? Yes.
Ciao, Danny.
Ken, yes, please. Hello. We don't hear you.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a software architect, and honestly, I will tell you that what I have as a possibility here, it's not about the multiple developers, because we have a relatively small group of people that are using the EA, and mainly one or two workers that build meaningful models. And we are not in the state of many contributors to the model, but I'm interested in other options that you mentioned. We are dealing continuously with product line software for products that belong to product lines, and many times we are building model that for the variants.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you how meaningful can be the use of LemonTree in this context to improve the work at the context of the product line, because that's the main issue. That is all the spirit of the modeling is for the variants. So how LemonTree can improve this work?
Yes. So the simple way is the simple solution to make product line engineering with LemonTree is you simply create a branch for each variant and you cherry pick updates into the variants. Okay, this works. And the other solution is you have a well-defined platform and you use LemonTree components to define the components, push the components on something like a Artifactory or Nexus, and make these components and share these components with your teams that build the variants. The answer, what is really the best, is difficult. So I would like to do a meeting with you down the road to look into more detail into your challenge. You know, there is no general advice.
Yeah.
We have
And
two sorts of solutions, but we need to know more about your use case.
You talked about the possibility to make changes in the common assets of the product line family, and okay. So, are you providing some guidance or some consulting in this area of modeling? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
The key aspect to managing such a context is a well-defined component architecture where the individual components can be pulled from the common assets or put back and be reused as complete components. So you need a good architecture for that.
Exactly. And some people even combine it then with a solution like pure variants and so on. So this is really an advanced topic that deserves its own solution.
So you have also an integration with pure variant?
No, we don't need it. Pure variants works with Enterprise Architect, and then our customers use the Enterprise Architect model with our tools to extract the information that pure variants gave them.
I would like to mention any more questions? Oh, who is making noise?
The guy in the car. Someone
is in the car. Alon?
No, I already arrived. No noise from me.
No noise when you arrived. Okay. So if there are not any more questions, I would like to thank you. But before we close up, I would like to mention that LieberLiber has another very interesting tool for people that use CodeBeamer for requirements management. LieberLiber also offers a CodeBeamer integrator with Enterprise Architect, an interesting solution for people who use CodeBeamer for requirements management. So if you are interested in, just contact me or Shimon, and we will be in touch.
We also have a solution for Polarion now, and we are working on a solution for Yama.
Good, Yama. That's interesting.
And these are also based on the LemonTree technology, so they have some tricks up their sleeves.
Well.
Okay. Then have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to everybody. Have a nice afternoon.
Danny, do you stay for a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Danny, I'm signing off.
Thank you
very
much.
Okay.
Danny, bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.